Hello, good morning, and welcome to Budget Part 2. This is where we're going to try to answer the questions that have been submitted to us over the last 10 days or so. I'm Craig Flickinger, your Finance Director. We're here with Rita Doherty, our Executive Director. So I think we're going to kick it off with Rita. The first question that came to us, actually in chronological order, was about employee bonuses.
Yeah, so the first question that came to COVID-19 at fvdublin.org. I can't get it right. How much was the employee bonus and why weren't we asked if we wanted to pay it? So the total amount for we called it the Rockstar bonus, which we provided to our associates in recognition of their incredible efforts through the COVID period. The total amount that was $72,000, and the decision to provide this monetary recognition to our associates was really in appreciation for the work that they've done. Like you, everything in their lives has changed here at Friendship Village of Dublin. They're no longer cleaning your apartments, which is what they were intended, but instead they're doing common area cleaning. They're not serving you in the dining, but instead they're packing your meals, and so it's just a different way of doing it, and we really wanted to appreciate and show our recognition and thanks to the associates. So that's why we made the decision, and it was a total of $72,000.
Yeah. So the next question has to do with food, and let me read it here. Since the menu is so limited, are you saving money on food? The short answer to that is I wish I could say yes, but the answer is no. I mean, similar to what you've heard in the news with our meat and poultry in particular, some of those plants going offline, it's not a meat shortage or a chicken shortage, as Don would tell us, but it's the packaging and processing of that. So those prices have really escalated in the last month or so. Now again, the thought is that those in given time will come back down. In addition to that, as you might imagine, in particular in our village store, we're buying a lot smaller portions. So when we can buy food in bulk, we can obviously save a little bit on the prices, have it on the buffet, etc. A lot of our smaller portions cost us additional dollars. As for the budget next year, way back when, pre-COVID, Don had told us 5% was kind of the industry standard. We do have 4% of the budget. I think we may have mentioned that in our previous discussion. So again, we're still hopeful that in that 4 to 5% range we'll do food prices. But in this particular question, food prices have not decreased.
The next question is, how do you reconcile your statement that we were starting to be impacted by the labor shortage? If we advertised for a cook, I bet we would even hear from some of the staff at the refectory. And I'm so sorry if we gave you the impression that there was a labor shortage here at Friendship Village. We are recruiting for different positions, and people like cooks, for example, we have a couple of cook positions that we have available, and we are getting some really strong applicants given the economy outside of Friendship Village of Dublin. So sorry if we gave you the impression that we had a labor shortage. We are recruiting for people, and that is an ongoing process. We are having a little bit of a challenge in some positions, and we're attributing that to maybe the unemployment rate and the unemployment compensation that is happening throughout our country as a result of COVID.
Yeah, I mean, and one of the things to note in talking about costs is we are self-insured for unemployment. So in a situation like we're currently experiencing where the government is kicking in that extra $600 a week, that really comes out of our pocket. Now the good news is we don't have a lot of folks on unemployment, and most of the individuals we have unemployment have gone somewhere else. If you're not employed, I believe it's 6 months somewhere else, it comes back to Friendship Village, but that is coming out of our pocket, that additional money. Next question then had to do, someone is very up to date on who we are and what we do. They wanted to know why Friendship at Home was not included in the presentation, and is it a separate entity? So good catch on that, and it was intentional. It's not part of our obligated group, so it's not something that we look at with our board on a monthly basis. It is a separate entity. It's a separate LLC. It does have a separate governing board. Actually, Scott and his team are going great guns. We are now just reached our 80 resident mark, so we just went over 80 residents. It has been cash flowing for the last couple of years, but now it's actually making a little money. So it puts a smile on this accountant's face to finally have another entity here that is starting to make a little money. And we knew that kind of that 80 to 90 mark was the break-even point for them, and it's been a 4-year process to get there. So we've invested some dollars, but again, cash flow-wise, they have been cash flowing the last couple of years, and they are operating under a separate board that meets twice a year.
And I think what makes me excited about that is operationally we're able to really help some people who would like to have some benefits within Life Care, but don't necessarily want to have the benefits of living at Friendship Village in Dublin. So we're really proud of Scott and his team. They've done a really nice job, and it's great to just be able to offer another option.
Yeah. Next question then, someone wanted to know, what has been the annual increase from the years 2012 through 2017? So I came in February of 14, so I looked and looked and looked, and I can't find 12 or 13, but I'm gonna take a pretty good guess that it was 3%, because that's what I've heard, especially in my early time here when we first went to a larger than 3%. It's probably 3% in 12 and 13, but please don't quote me on that exactly because I couldn't find the data. Starting in 14, it was 3%. In 15, that was really my first year budget year here, and Jerry's as well. Remember, we rolled, for those of you that have been around 5 or 6 years, we rolled the technology bundle into the rate. So the rate increase was 5.75, the second person was 6%, but remember that also included the rolling in of IT and phone, which historically had not been part of that. So it's a little misleading to just say you had a 6% or 5.75% rate increase for that particular year. You need to know the details of that. Starting then in 16, with a couple of exceptions, we've gone 4% every year since 16. Last year in particular was 3.75. I believe Laura came and talked at the town hall and talked about the board recognizing we had a dust concession as part of the construction, and did 3.75. But basically, with the exception of a couple years at 3.75, it's been 4% every year since 16, including 18, 19, and 20. That wasn't in particular asked, but just to give you the percentage increases over the last several years.
Thanks, Craig. And then the last question we got was, we commented in the budget presentation that we spent about $91,000 on COVID-related expenses, and one of you wanted to know what we spent that on. So we've spent, I believe, through March, or through April, excuse me, about $80,000 on PPE. So when we talk about PPE, we're talking about the masks. The surgical masks, we have some KN95 masks that we have stored in the event that we have a case of COVID. We have a couple of N95 masks, I think about 200, again, in the event that we would have an outbreak of some sort or some COVID-related activity. Masks, gloves, so every time we touch somebody, especially if they have COVID, we want to make sure that we're protecting you, and we're also protecting our associates who are caring for you. So gloves are a big thing for us. Gowns, as you know, nationally are very, very hard to get. We've been very lucky to procure some very different kinds of gowns. We have some paper gowns, we have some plastic gowns, which are not ideal, and then we have some surgical gowns. But we are still procuring those because we want to make sure that every time we touch some person, we make sure we can change that gown. Also, we have face masks, the clear face masks that we have, booty covers or shoe covers, and a whole bunch of other gamut from that PPE. Also in that is all of our sanitation piece, so our sanitizers, our hand sanitizers. You now see some boxed hand sanitizers, also very hard to get, back ordered. When we ordered some of this stuff in March through July, and even now the orders have been canceled, so we've had to find some different ways to procure some of these items. And then also the disinfectants. So each day your hallways across the campus are cleaned by our awesome environmental services team. They are done in combination of a Clorox product and also a Quat product, switching from back and forth to make sure that we're doing everything we can if and when the virus is on a hard surface, which now they don't necessarily say that it's there, but making sure that we're doing everything that we can. Your disinfectant bottles, that's an example of what's included in that $91,000. our water machine, which early on we had some troubles with procurement of supplies related to the disinfectant. So we purchased a system that basically makes our own cleaner that has been proven to be 99.9% effective against viruses, including the COVID virus. So that was about $25,000, and we're very hopeful that over the course of the next however many years we can make our own chemical. It uses water and a little acid, which is then a little healthier for you than the Clorox products, which some residents are indicating are creating some respiratory issues. So we also purchased some additional Victory guns. You're going to start seeing those. We use them in the hallways, and also now that the wellness center is open, we'll be using one of those when we do the disinfecting and cleaning each time in between when we have sessions. So we've spent a lot of effort and a lot of time and a lot of money to make sure that we, if and when COVID comes, we are prepared, and also trying to prevent COVID and any other virus, MRSA, the flu virus. What are some other viruses that are escaping my head right now? The cruise ship one. Norovirus, that's another one that all of these disinfectant tools will help us with. So
I think the great unknown going forward in terms of dollars spent on this will be the testing.
yeah,
I mean, we both know of a couple of our colleagues in other entities that when they've had the outbreak, they've ended up paying for the testing. So as the government steps in particular in the assisted living in the nursing home area and mandates some sort of regulated or regular testing, we know tests are somewhere in the $50 to $125 per test range, and so you can imagine if you start weekly and or monthly testing on 100 or so associates and residents, that's going to add up pretty quickly. And at this point, I don't know where the funding is going to come from for that. So that's kind of the unknown going forward. That's not part of the $200,000 we've spent to date, but that's certainly a concern for all of us in the industry, not just Friendship Village, as we move forward.
and I think on that, we're going to get off of our finance topic. I think we've made the decision, obviously we need to follow the guidelines from the Ohio Department of Health related to our associates in the health center. But testing, as we all know, is just a single point in time. So Craig and I could both have a test today and be negative, but go out tomorrow and contract the virus and not know it, because that's the challenge with this, is it's asymptomatic. So right now the testing is a critical piece to the puzzle. It's just not a puzzle piece that we have quite yet. So it's all very exciting, very fun. We wanted to thank you so much for sending in your feedback and your questions related to the budget presentation and your fee increase for 2021. It's crazy to think that. Craig again did an awesome job putting the budget together, and we're looking forward to a good, successful year.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much.